What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top storylines for each team in the AFC West heading into training camp. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, as we have done with every other division in the NFL, we're talking about the top storylines heading into training camp. And with training camp officially underway, we are taking a look at the AFC West. And the AFC West is one of those divisions where it's very top heavy and a lot of teams trying to scrape up and try to compete with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that one team in particular really showed us that they may have the gall to truly stand on their own two legs and compete with the Chiefs moving forward. And that's the first team I want to talk about. That being the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers really got off to a bumpy start with Tyrod Taylor going out with that punctured lung, and then all of a sudden, rookie quarterback Justin Herbert comes in, and he looks like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ himself. I mean, he literally just looked like his hair was just waving in the wind, and he was passing balls that were so elegantly thrown. It was like right into a breadbasket. At the end of the day, Justin Herbert, he did lead his team to some incredible feats, but it was only a 5 victory season. They're looking to improve upon that. That's not going to get the job done when you have the Chiefs in your division. So, with all that being said, the question remains, will Justin Herbert continue to grow, or will he actually suffer a sophomore slump this season?
Well, I think there's a few factors that we need to consider. Corey Linsley's addition to this offensive line and what he'll do for the growth of Justin Herbert, the health of this team is at 100%, which it has not been in years. And now they have Brandon Staley at head coach, a defensive minded guy who can finally correct the biggest problem on this team, the defense. And he's going to let Justin Herbert do his thing on the offense and grow with this offensive line, the wide receivers and tight ends that he has, because Justin Herbert doesn't need much guidance. He just needs time, and he'll develop into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. In year two, Justin Herbert's going to be leaps and bounds better than where he was in year one. He's going to have a team that he can work with, a team that he's comfortable with, and he's going to be in a system that he has had experience with. What Justin Herbert did in with all those circumstances, not having a full off season, and then on last second notice, literal last second notice, being told, "You're in, kid." That's impressive to see everything that he did. Justin Herbert is going to be great, and I can't wait to see everything that he does this season. It's going to be a much better result for the Chargers this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the COVID-ridden season where there was no offseason. He didn't get to really meet with his teammates in the offseason. There was a whole litany of things that were working against him, and he persevered to become the offensive rookie of the year. I mean, that's how good he was. And I think that when you have that much talent, it's going to be very difficult to regress, and seeing the mindset that this kid has, that he wants to get better, he wants to win, and he has a hunger and a drive that is not rivaled by many other players in the NFL, let alone just athletes in general. I believe that Justin Herbert is going to be just fine. I think that the Chargers are in great hands with him at the helm, and at the end of the day, the Chargers will win more than 5 games this season. Justin Herbert will be an absolute stud at the quarterback position. All right, moving forward, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the team that everybody and their mother are chasing. And it just seems like they are consistently getting to the top of the leaderboard, and they're in a position where they can really dictate the terms of every football game. That explosive offense is almost unmatched, and at the end of the day, they just have the experience in AFC championship games and Super Bowls now, that they can rely on that, and they don't have to get nervous about anything. It is all about the grind, staying healthy through the season, getting to the playoffs, winning each and every game, and then getting to the Super Bowl and hoisting that Lombardi trophy once again. The issue with that is that you need everybody to not only stay healthy, but keep their nose clean and out of the media. And the biggest issue for the Chiefs now remains that Frank Clark, he may not be able to play. And I think that's where our question remains is will Frank Clark be able to play in 2021? Frank Clark, if you do not know, is facing some very interesting charges as he was pulled over and he had some, let's say, illegal firearms with him while he was pulled over. At the end of the day, this is a very serious offense, and he is facing multiple years in a federal prison. So the question remains, Nick, do you see Frank Clark playing for this team?
All of these issues that players seem to have off the field, they tend to go away during the season. And it seems like litigation gets held up and it's hard to get a hold of people, so things drag on. So it gives the players the opportunity to play during the season. I fully expect Frank Clark to be one of those guys that everything gets pushed back towards February or March or April, and we don't hear a thing about this until then, and Frank Clark will be fully free to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that he is such an integral part to this defense, and they cannot succeed without him. I just don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs have the edge pressure without him to keep this defense afloat. The secondary is too young right now to not have a guy like Frank Clark getting quick pressure on the quarterback. What Frank Clark can do for this team cannot go unnoticed, and it will be very visible if he is not there.
Frank Clark's not next to Chris Jones. I don't really know how the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to replicate what he can do off the edge. I really don't. It's not a something you can just throw other guys at because you can only have 11 guys on defense. You can't just replicate what he can do as a single entity off the edge and gain pressure that way. It just doesn't work that way. So I think that for their sake, he has to be on the field. However, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe he's going to be. I think Roger Goodell is not happy with the state of the NFL right now. I think we have seen way too often, specifically this offseason, that NFL players have really just gotten into the media for very negative reasons. And I think he's going to start getting a little more strict, even though he already was, with his punishments. I think he's going to really bring the hammer down because he is tired of the NFL being brought into the limelight for negative reasons. And if you're talking about a possible prison term, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons for him to be able to pass punishment down. But the fan side of me wants to say that I doubt he's going to be punished because he's not on the New England Patriots. The analyst side of me thinks that he will get punished because that is the swift form of justice that Roger Goodell likes to have and implements in the NFL. All right, moving forward, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and I wanted to take a look at the Raiders because they made some really good pickups this offseason. They reshuffled the offensive line. They fixed up the wide receiving room and got the defense a little bit better, got some key pieces in there. The question now falls on the shoulders of, you guessed it, the quarterback position. Will Derek Carr finally become the quarterback that he was drafted to be all those years ago? Can he be the leader that takes this team to the next level?
Well, Derek Carr's been in the system for a while. He's worked with John Gruden for the last few years, so nothing about the front office or the coaching situation, the playbook, none of that has changed. He has been in Las Vegas for a year now, so the move is behind him. He can focus strictly on football. Derek Carr, his weapons have gotten worse. Nelson Aguilar really blossomed in that system, and I just don't know if John Brown at his age is going to be able to live up to what Nelson Aguilar did last season for the Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Waller's still there. This offensive line got torn down but rebuilt. So at the end of the day, is anything really changing for this offense? No. In fact, it may have gotten a little worse if you consider John Brown a drop-off from Nelson Aguilar, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is Derek Carr is not playing any better. He's not improving. He's going to stay the same. Under Derek Carr, the Las Vegas Raiders are and will continue to be an average team. They will be an 8-8, 9-7 team as long as Derek Carr is at the helm of this team. He is just not an elite quarterback. He is not one of the top guys that can break his team into the playoffs. He does not have that it factor. That he is missing that. So I'm going to say Derek Carr stays exactly where he is. The Las Vegas Raiders will end this season middle of the pack.
I hate to be that guy, but we did add an extra game to the schedule, so they can't be 8-8 or 9-7. Listen, I hate to be that guy, right? I get your point. I get the gist of what you're saying, and Derek Carr to me does not he doesn't exude excitement. He is not somebody that I get overly excited about leading this team. And honestly, I wish that they had somebody like Deshaun Watson or somebody else to really spark this team, because I think that if they had somebody of a higher caliber, they could go really far. They could do something different. But Derek Carr is one of those guys that he's not a game changer. He's going to play it safe. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to make some nice plays here and there, but at the end of the day, he's not going to win you games. He's not going to lose you games. He's just the game manager. And that's what some teams want, but some teams need some guy who's going to win them games. And I don't think Derek Carr is that guy. Moving forward to the final team that we have in the AFC West, and that would be the Denver Broncos. And this one is pretty simple. This is one of the biggest quarterback battles that we have in the NFL through training camp. And the question remains, who's going to start at quarterback for the Denver Broncos? Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock?
I've been a big fan of Drew Lock since he entered the NFL, and there's a lot of hate around Drew Lock that he's not living up to the hype. He was supposed to be the next John Elway, and now he's not. Well, I just think that Drew Lock has gotten the short end of the stick. He got put into the starting role in the middle of the season a couple of years ago, and then last year he lost his number one weapon in Courtland Sutton. This team battled injuries left and right. It just was not going right for Drew Lock or the Denver Broncos as a whole, and I just don't think he's gotten that fair shake. If you give Drew Lock a fair shake, if he has a fully healthy team, he's going to thrive. I think that he has the arm talent, he's got the mobility, he's just got to work on his decision making, and he'll have the total package. I think that Drew Lock has so much potential, and it's just way too early for the Denver Broncos to try to give up on him, especially for a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who's been bouncing around the league, has not been better than average in the NFL. You can't say that Drew Lock doesn't have potential to be much better than Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater gets a bad rap because of what he put on as his performance in Carolina and his time with the New York Jets. Nothing really has panned out well for him. But I have to imagine that the guy that we saw in Minnesota, I have to imagine that guy is still there. I have to imagine that he still has that talent and he can unlock that. And I hope that the Broncos have the requisite pieces around him to get that unlocked. We're talking about Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, Noah Fant, you name it. He has incredible talent all around him, a good offensive line. The question remains, can he be that guy? And like I said, I hope he can be, because I've seen it from him before. Drew Lock, he's one of those guys where I feel like it's just Groundhog Day over and over again. You just think he's going to be ready to take that leap. You're so excited for him because he exudes confidence, and he really shows you that you're going to be able to get a lot out of him. But then he just disappoints you. He doesn't do anything to improve himself from the year prior, and it's very frustrating as somebody who listen. I'm not a Broncos fan by any stretch of the imagination, so if I'm a Broncos fan, I have to imagine that it's going to be very frustrating to see a guy that I expected to take over our franchise not doing that for the simple fact that it doesn't seem like he's trying. It doesn't seem like he can do much more than he's already doing. So I don't know. It's really up to how everybody plays in training camp. But at the end of the day, I think Teddy Bridgewater may end up getting the nod over him. But I'd say that Drew Lock really has to show it, because he comes in as the incumbent. He understands this offense. He understands the playbook, and he's got a leg up on the competition. If he can't win against Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think there's really much hope for him moving forward. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.